How did you perfect your elevator pitch?
I mean, this is a really boring answer, but just practicing it over and over again. So Farah and I are probably quite different in this, because I need to, like, when I'm pitching or presenting or anything, I need to practice, whereas Farah loves just ad hoc going for it, which is great, but I have to practice. So I think you just kind of, the more you do it and the more feedback you get and the more people you pitch to and who listen to your story, I think you just refine it each time.
Yeah, I feel exactly the same. I think you start off having a conversation, and then, like you say, as you go, you refine that conversation. And it was really important for me to spend time with different people, my team, and just saying, you know, how easy to understand is this, and actually adapting for different audiences as well. So you might be pitching to a venture capital firm, and they will want to hear more of the financial side and the revenue side, but if you're talking to another person about what the idea is, it's going to be very different.
To yourself, it might sound normal and okay, but then you kind of start talking about it.
That's the challenge. It's like, actually, you know it so well. It's actually thinking maybe that everybody else will just know it, and sometimes that's not the case.
Yeah, I have 5 pizza and then I'll get you it. What value do you place on financial transparency within your company?
It's really interesting dichotomy, because in some ways you are in a position when you're leading a team that you want to protect from, for example, money in the bank and burn rates, and when you're kind of VC funded. So I've found that quite challenging to know, like, which way to go. However, I've gone more towards transparency now. As a founder, you feel that you need to take on quite a lot, and that can be quite dangerous actually if you're not sharing all the reality of running a startup with the people around you.
Yeah, interesting. I think you're so right. I'm lucky to have a co-founder, because we do share a lot of the struggles and with that financial struggles, but as a small team as well, it's so important, because for example, our marketing hire, she needs to know why we're slashing budgets, or you know, we just finished a raise, so while we were raising, we couldn't be spending all this money.
People actually, when they have the context like that, have found they're really resilient, and it really helps to build that culture of, like, the reality of where we are. Yeah, I certainly, you know, my leadership team will know everything about where we're at, and my wider team will have I think a pretty good idea of where we're at. Yeah.
And I think if you're giving responsibility and expecting decisions to be made by the wider team, then of course they need to know, because how are they going to make informed decisions otherwise? Yeah.
What was the hardest thing you learnt when fundraising?
To be patient, and that not everyone is going to understand our vision like we do, and you know, you have to become resilient, because there's so many setbacks, right? And you sometimes get to the point like, oh, what are you even doing this for? Like, and it's a complete roller coaster. So I think building resilience and also patience, because it doesn't, you know, it's a difficult journey. It definitely has been for us.
Yeah, no, same. I think I don't know many people who get that easy.
No, sometimes people do say that, and I'm like, are you just being annoying? It was so easy.
I agree so much with what you said. Resilience is so important, and I think early on, you know, you every kind of time that you don't get that, like, excitement that you have shared when you're kind of in a room or somebody's nitpicking at numbers, it can feel really disheartening. But keeping that focus on the big vision of a business, and I think that's why the key driver of a business actually succeeding is belief in that vision. And you know, I've spoken to people in the past who are kind of looking for a business idea to make money, and I think sometimes that's hard in terms of, like, if you don't fully believe deep within you that, like, this is something that you can really change, and that you know you want to have that impact on people, then it's going to be very hard to keep that resilience and not just go
that passion.
Exactly. So belief and maintaining that belief and rest.
I know,
fundraising is 6-month journey a lot of the time, and
a full-time job.
It's an emotional journey, and making sure that you're kind of reflecting and sharing and going and having a glass of wine with somebody who's been and done it before. Like, I really value my founder friends, particularly at those times. That's really been important.
Well, definitely, but you're right, it's kind of checking in as well, because sometimes you lose that. You're like, oh, this is so frustrating, but like, why am I doing this? Why are we doing this? What's our goal? And as long as you keep checking back in with that, it's it refocuses you on why you're doing it, and why all the kind of sleepless nights are worth it. If money wasn't an issue, what would you splurge on?
It would be property for me. I mean, a lot of the things that I'm doing and the dedication that I've put into the job, it has been to try and create more sanctuaries for people. So I'd love to do property projects that would create spaces for people, maybe less conventional homes and communities for people. Something that has always really interested me, so that would be my next thing.
What advice would you give to yourself if you were raising for the first time again?
I would say raise more. I mean, I personally did the classic kind of EIS round initially, and then went and did another smaller one, and with a kind of ambitious vision that we had. You're never going to be able to do this on a few £100,000, so I actually, when I kind of speak to earlier stage founders now who are setting out on their journey, and they're kind of looking at raising a few 100,000 versus something bigger, my advice is always go bigger, because it will go faster and you'll be able to do more, and it will be kind of gone and you'll be fundraising again before you know it.
That's exactly it. No, I'd echo what you say. I think I think perhaps it's a female thing as well, like not wanting to ask or not kind of valuing your company as highly as perhaps someone else would, or not want to ask for as much money, but it's a constant thing. As soon as you close that round, you've got to raise another. So I think more money's definitely good. And I think when you've got like maybe a group of people that you're pitching to, or you've got a list of people, or you've been introduced to different contacts, I'd say start with the ones that are less important or less likely to give investment. So almost like a warm-up type, because the more pitches you do, the more it becomes second nature. Whereas the first few, I think, are less, you're less confident, or you're less
Just don't ever tell anybody that they're your first in the future, because now it's on video.
Obviously not. Damn it. But I think that's more relevant for the kind of earlier initial investment, because you're not as rehearsed in that kind of in doing that and pitching and answering the questions in that certain scenario. And I definitely improved throughout the process.
I agree so much. It's really good to have a lot of dry runs to get other investors that perhaps you've got relationships with to put you through your paces, and to start surfacing the questions that come out that you probably haven't figured would come out, and then you're kind of ready to go. How would you describe, I know what you're going to say to this, your money management skills?
You know me so well now.
Farah, is it right?
Farah, yeah.
Basically, you just need a Farah.
I have a wonderful co-founder who knows everything there is about spreadsheets, and she's taught me everything I know about spreadsheets. I'm very lucky to have Farah as a co-founder, and she's, her background's in investment banking, so she's an Excel monkey, as she says. So I mean, that's pretty boring, isn't it?
That's great. It's great to have that. Money management for me, well, it's obviously super important, and in some ways it's important not to get caught in the detail in a way when you're earlier stage and you're looking at bigger vision things, and you don't want to overinvest time in penny pinching in budgets. So I have accountants that monitor that closely, and my focus is on the bigger picture. What's going out? What are our core kind of unit economics, and then I try and as a founder try and give financially accountant-minded people the kind of granular, let's watch those things, and make sure that my kind of team heads are looking at their budgets and what they're spending, and that we're all okay on that front.
What did you do to creatively stand out?
think we're in a position where we're creating something that doesn't exist, and so in a way that's really an opportunity, and it's also really challenging. So we've spent a lot of time articulating that, and actually comparisons to similar businesses are very useful when you're articulating
That's true, yeah.
what you're doing. So, you know, for us, we often say Homecode is kind of like the Stripe layer, so the payment layer that you would use to have best practice payments. Homecode is like the transactional layer across the whole property industry.
Great,
right?
yeah.
And that then helps people understand it,
definitely.
and we're not necessarily fighting for differentiation, we're fighting for an understanding of what we're doing.
Yeah.
What about
definitely.
you?
Well, I guess for us, we're in a very dominated market. You know, there's not been very many players in the condom market for decades, really, and it's one key leader. So I think it was quite easy for us to stand out, because it was like, oh, it's something new. But our design and our brand is very different to the other condom brands out there. We're quite proud of our brand, and our whole kind of tone of voice is very inclusive. It's very open. It's you know, fun, like sex should be fun, but it's also educational, and I try and kind of include blog posts that can impart some of my knowledge. In terms of our product itself as well, it's a lot more cleaner, and it's not garishly coloured or anything. It's kind of neutral packaging that fit in with your beauty items or your handbag, or so we wanted it to feel positive when you're picking it up on the shelf or having it delivered.
In your bag.
Yeah, it should be a positive thing, but the connotations are very negative, kind of throughout, about buying condoms at the moment and using condoms. So we're really trying to flip that on its head.
How did you get in the room with investors?
Networking the hell out of everything. So before we launched, we were pitching, we were going to all the events we could find, we were sneaking into events pretending to be angel investors. Farah's very good at this, I have to say.
Brilliant.
And then just, networking. And Farah's got a good network from her previous job. So we kind of, networking, talking to people, and then just building it out. And I have to say, it's like we've just constantly been building that out. We were part of an accelerator called the Alpha course on Huckletree, a co-working space, and that was amazing in terms of the support we got, the mentors, and also at the end of the accelerator we had a pitch to a group of angels and some early stage funds and VCs as well. So that then exposed us. Then we, throughout that period, we also had kind of an opportunity to tap into their kind of network. There was one of our investors who are great, had something on their Instagram story. So we slid into their DM saying you should expand your portfolio and invest in HANX. And then they replied saying, send your deck to my PA. And so we did, and then we had a meeting the next week and they invested.
That's awesome.
So just be creative.
Everything. Yeah, absolutely. No, I did the similar thing. Early on, it was literally just kind of speaking to friends who had businesses themselves, getting introductions, looking people up on LinkedIn who I thought would be good angels for us, so that they wouldn't just bring money, they would bring kind of advice as well. Just a lot of talking and connecting with different people, and just kind of seeing how everything felt.